The Rutgers Scarlet Knights football team under head coach Greg Schiano has done amazing things in the past year, including beating Miami in the Pinstripe Bowl and getting a winning record. Rutgers, I'm going to be honest with you guys, used to be the laughingstock of the Big Ten Conference, but head coach Greg Schiano has made it so that Rutgers is legitimate again. And this year, I have a ton of optimism for this team. Can this team compete for a college football playoff berth? Let's find out here on this episode of the Big Ten Quick Talk podcast. Really quick, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, it helps us out a ton here on the channel. And this video will be broken up into two sections. The first section will be a roster breakdown, so stick around for that. And also, the second part of this video will be a schedule breakdown, so stick around for that as well. And let's dive right in. All right, so let's go over the roster breakdown as you see on your screen. We'll go over the weaknesses, the potential weaknesses, and the potential strengths as we flush out ideas here on the overall roster. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Quarterback, I have it as a C, the lowest grade on this team. I'm very optimistic about this team, but as it is said, the team can only go as far as the quarterback goes. And if you're going by that logic, I don't know if this team's going too far at all. I give some reasons why I don't think that's going to be the case, but that's for later on. For the quarterback position, though, they brought in Ethan Kaliak-Manis to man the position, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, they needed an upgrade here, and they settled for less. They probably could have got a better person in the transfer portal, or they could have run it back with Gavin Wimsatt, and I would have been perfectly okay with it. But Ethan Kaliak-Manis is not quite the guy, I think, yet. I'm not saying that he doesn't have room for improvement, but what he showed last year at Minnesota is that he is not a very good quarterback at all. He does have some potential, though. I'm not going to rule out a surprise Ethan Kaliak-Manis Rutgers just tearing up the league. I'm not going to rule that out, but I really did not like Rutgers bringing in Ethan Kaliak-Manis. He's shown that he is not a proven quarterback in the league yet, and he's not a very good one, let's be honest. So that's my thoughts on the quarterback situation there at Rutgers. I wish that they could have went and got someone a little better, but this is the situation they have themselves in right now, and I can't really go any higher than a C. He definitely has potential to be a better quarterback, but I just don't see it right now. At running back, this is probably the best position on the team. I'm going to be quite honest with you, and they run it back with the best running back in the whole Big Ten Conference last year. According to yards, he had the most yards. I'm talking about Kyle Monangai. He's honestly one of the best on the team. And the running back, Samuel Brown V, he is also pretty darn good as the backup. So I just love this running back room for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I think it is a very good running back room for the Knights. All right, next on the list, as you see on your screen here, we're going to talk about the receiver room. I have it graded as a B. I'm going to explain that. This is a combination of both the wide receiver room and the tight end room, the receiver room, as I like to call it, and many other people as well. The wide receiver room, I don't hate it. I don't hate the wide receiver room at all. They bring in Damari Miller, who was really good at a smaller school named Monmouth, and he was very electric, very fast, a great guy to bring into this team. He has a lot of talent. Just because he comes from a small school does not mean that he's immediately a scrub or a backup, but this guy proves the opposite, really, that this guy is a legit player. Damari Miller, senior transfer. I really like him. They brought back their leading receiver from last year, Christian Dremel, who is a pretty good target. He was pretty good last year, and the two will be a good combo, just a solid combo. And that's what I have to say about this wide receiver room. It's very solid. Now at tight end, this is what brings this grade down to a B. In my opinion, the wide receiver room is about a B plus, right there in that B plus A minus range. But the tight end room is a little just doesn't have a lot of experience. Kenny Fletcher is going to be their tight end. He is a converted edge rusher, and he really didn't play at all last year. So we're hoping that he has some success here on the channel. I hope that Kenny Fletcher lights it up, but due to his unprovenness and just overall lack of experience at the tight end position, I think it's going to be tough for him to really excel. But the Rutgers Scarlet Knights need him to excel, so we will find out once the season comes about how well he will play. So my final grade for the receiver room is a B. Now, the last position on the offense that we'll talk about is the offensive line. I have it graded as a B plus and a potential strength. This offensive line, it's a veteran offensive line, returns 4 starters from last year, including guys like Gus Zalinksis, who is very good at center. Hope I said his name right. And another guy at tackle who's very good in Holland Pierce. He is legit. He's probably going to be a at least a second round pick, in my opinion, in the NFL draft. I think that he's very good, and I think this offensive line is very good as well. And the offense is molded to a strong ground game, and this is where their offensive line really gives them an edge over everyone else. I think, in my opinion, not just the fact that they have one of the best running backs in the country in Kyle Monangai, but they have a sneaky good offensive line to back that up and really help push Kyle Monangai forward, both figuratively and literally. All right, moving on to the defensive side of the ball now. At the defensive line position, I have it graded as a B plus. I think it is pretty good. They have one of their best players on the whole team on that defensive line at the edge position in Aaron Lewis, the senior who came back for another season. He is a very good player in my opinion. And other than that, this defensive line is pretty solid. They have Wesley Bailey there at the other edge position, and they're very good. They might not generate a whole lot of sacks, but they are incredibly strong against the run. Just when I always say this, when you look at the edge position, you can't just look at sacks, especially at the collegiate level, because there's so much to the edge position at the collegiate level. And no better example of that than this combo of Wesley Bailey and Aaron Lewis. They're going to be tremendous against the run, and I think that they take a step up in the passing game. So I'm not saying that they're going to get 0 sacks. I think that they're going to be a pair of players, at the edge position that are going to be really, really good against the pass and the run. So their defensive line really solid here. At the linebacker position, they bring back one of their better players from last year in Mohamed Toure. He was really, really good for them last year. They also have guys like Tareem Powell who will be starting at the linebacker position. So linebacker, a solid B plus. In the secondary is very interesting to me. I think it's one of the most underrated secondaries in the league. Their safety combo is really, really good with Flip Dixon and Desmond Igbinson. Sorry, I probably did not pronounce that name right. So I think that these pair of safeties in the defensive backfield are really, really good. Flip Dixon, who transferred over from Minnesota, had a breakout season last year. Desmond Igbinson, also a standout player. But they also have some players like Shaquille Loyal, Robert Longerbeam, who are really good players as well. So I really like this secondary. I think it's the best position group on the defense in general. So overall, this roster is pretty darn good. I think it's just the quarterback that is holding them back from really being talked about nationally. But this team, I'm going to say it again, sneaky good. This team is a really good, this roster especially, really good roster. And the schedule is, I got no words for it except easy. Now, let's get to that schedule and let's talk about it here on the Big Ten Quick Talk podcast. Before we do that, really quick, just a brief note, housekeeping, as you can say. I'm going to be doing my first live stream on Friday night, I'm pretty sure. So I'll keep you guys posted on the community page. We're going to be playing College Football 25. It's going to be awesome, and I'm going to see you guys there. Rutgers is a team that I might rebuild. So go to the community page and tell me which team I should rebuild. Maybe it's these Rutgers Scarlet Knights, a team like Indiana, Northwestern possibly. But anyway, so let's get back to the content here and let's go to the schedule breakdown. All right, here's the schedule as you can see on your screen here, and let's look at it. First impressions, this is not a hard schedule. This is an easy schedule, and let's look at the teams that jump out. To me, week 4 at a dangerous Virginia Tech team with Kyron Drones at the head. Maybe week 6 at Nebraska, you have to go to Memorial Stadium, possibly a night game. Week 9 at USC, which is a night game, against a dangerous team led by Millard Moss. And other than that, though, let's be honest. Week 7 versus Wisconsin, pretty good matchup. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here, and I'll explain to you how we do the schedule breakdowns around here if you're new to the channel. Games that I think Rutgers will have, a 0 to 30% chance of winning that game will be in orange as we talk about them. That will evolve throughout the video if they have any games in that region. Games that'll be in that Rutgers red will be a pick'em game. We usually do those last, so stick around for that. Games that Rutgers will have a 60 to 80% chance of winning, so a good chance of winning will be in the purple. And games that are all but locked down certified wins will be in that lighter blue color. So let's get right into it. All right, so we usually combine this part of the schedule breakdown games that I think Rutgers has a 0 to 30% chance of winning. I see none on the Rutgers schedule. You could argue possibly at USC, but I think as we will talk about that game a little bit later on, but I think that Rutgers has a good chance in that game. So there are none. There are no games that I think Rutgers will be blatantly not favored in. So the next category will be the certified win category. Let's not spend too much time on this. Versus Howard and versus Akron. That's about as easy as it gets, let's say. So let's not spend too much time on that. Those are all but said and done wins. And let's move on to the next category. All right, next category. Games in which I think Rutgers will be favored in by a good margin. What do I mean by that? Rutgers will be favored in these games highlighted in purple by about anywhere from 3 to 7 to 10 points, in my opinion. Let's go one by one here. So versus Washington. Washington is a team that I think is underrated going into this year. I think that they have a sneaky good roster, but Washington has to go across country to play the Rutgers in Piscataway. I don't think that bodes well for Washington. I think Rutgers will be favored here by about 6 points, I would say, going into this game. Well, depending on if they beat Virginia Tech. We'll talk about Virginia Tech in a second. Week 8 versus UCLA. Same deal. UCLA has to go cross country, and I think that they have a worse roster than Washington. I don't get the quote unquote air quotes hype when it comes to UCLA when I see that they're ranked inside the top 50, inside the top 40. All they bring back is Ethan Garbers, and I don't think he's really even that good, to be honest with you. But past Ethan Garbers, really not much else. Chip Kelly left that team at a very inopportune time and not in very good shape, let's be honest. All right, week 11 versus Minnesota. I just noticed they have 7 home games. Another reason why this schedule is easy, they have more home games than away games, and their home games are by and large versus teams that have to rack up those air miles, So versus Minnesota, back on track. I think that Minnesota, frankly, reloaded with a worse quarterback than Nathan Kaliak-Manis, an FCS quarterback. I think that Minnesota is going to be a dollar store version of what Rutgers is going to try to do. They're going to try and run the ball with that running back Taylor. He's really the only bright spot on that Minnesota team. Minnesota, I have a lot of problems with, but let's not waste much more time with Minnesota. I think Rutgers is going to be about a 4.5 point favorite versus Minnesota. At Maryland, week 12. Going to Maryland, going to be a little bit of a tougher environment, especially after playing at home versus Minnesota, but Maryland's going to be nothing special this year. Again, Rutgers gets to play all the mediocre teams down the stretch, in my opinion. Versus Illinois in week 13, they go back home to play Illinois. Illinois, I think, is just not a good team at all going into this new Big Ten. Really, Illinois is just not a good team. I can explain why, but that would get us sidetracked from Rutgers. who we are here to talk about. Probably an Illinois season preview coming here soon. So another reason to subscribe so that we can keep making these season previews. Week 14 at Michigan State. I think that this game is going to be really interesting. Rutgers' style of offense is going to hurt Michigan State, especially as they got gutted on the defensive side of the ball, on offense too, but most especially on the defensive side of the ball. Jonathan Smith is a very good head coach, much like Greg Schiano. He's really good at actually coaching the players, in my opinion. So this game, I think Rutgers will have a solid 3.5, 4-point favorite because Michigan State, in my opinion, is their record's not going to look too good by the end of the season, even though I think that they're going to be a much better team than their record tells them to. Probably a little bit too much information there for you. A Michigan State season preview is in the works. Probably my next one coming out. Another reason to subscribe. So that is what I think there. So there you go. You have 6 teams that Rutgers will be solidly favored against. All right, last category for you guys here. Then I'll let you go on with your day. The pick'em category. Flip a coin. Call it whatever you want. These are the games that Rutgers could definitely lose, but could definitely win. All right, week 4 at Virginia Tech. Like I previewed a little bit ago, Virginia Tech, led by Kyron Drones, they will have a very good rushing attack, especially with the offensive line being as good as they are. Really a team similar to Rutgers, except I think Kyron Drones is a better quarterback than Ethan Kaliak-Manis. Will be a battle till the end, though, because I think Rutgers' defense is a little bit better. So definitely a sneaky game to watch out for. Probably not going to be on national TV. Probably not going to be a game that national pundits will pay close attention to. But your boy here on the Big Ten Quick Talk podcast will be glued to this game, and I will definitely be following this game. Week 6 at Nebraska, you have to travel to Memorial Stadium, one of the best atmospheres in college football. And Nebraska, we'll see where they are at this point of the season, but they may very well have a loss against Colorado, a possible loss later in the schedule. So we'll see where Nebraska is. If they're going into this game undefeated and rolling, it's going to be hard for Rutgers to win this game. But, Colorado is going to be their Super Bowl this year. And if they don't win that, Rutgers could be walking into a very dejected Nebraska environment, and they could benefit off of that. So a game, if you're going to put it straight up right now, I think Nebraska has about maybe a 1.5 on this game over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, but that could very well change depending on the circumstance by week 6. Week 7 versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a team that's going to be really good this year, but will probably go about 7-5 because their schedule is so tough. This game being at home for Rutgers bodes very well for them. They needed this one to be a home game because they have to travel to USC in 2 weeks. And this game is going to be very interesting as well. I think that Rutgers will put up a very good fight in this game. Notice that this is not I forgot to say this at the beginning, this is not a prediction. The predictions will come later on this channel. You don't want to miss them. Another reason to subscribe. Probably going to do a live show for that. So just stay tuned for that. At USC, this is a game that possibly could have gone where Rutgers wasn't going to be favored at all. I would give USC about a 2.5 point. I would make them about a 2.5 point favorite over Rutgers. The Rutgers style of offense is going to hurt USC. USC is not great in the trenches, especially on the defensive side. They have some linebackers that are good. They have a pretty good secondary, but the way Rutgers will play offense is going to really help them out in winning this game. But USC is going to have a very good offense. Let's not get it twisted. So thank you so much for watching this Rutgers Scarlet Knights video. Comment your thoughts on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights down below. What do you see their record being? Do you have any disagreements with me on the roster? Do you think Ethan Kaliak-Manis is a little bit better than I think he is? I know I've had some disagreements with people in the past over him, but be that as it may, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, do all that stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one.